Welcome to Charism Life, a cultivated space of growth that is drenched with the aroma of greatness, where wisdom in all of her beauty speaks. I am your host, Christy Payne-Jones, and I am single. Let me begin by saying, over this last week, I originally scripted, recorded, and produced my time with you today under the title Satisfied in Singleness. And yesterday, when I had it queued up and ready to publish, God was like, nah, we're not doing that. That said, I was called to lay down the original script and start over. So here we are. Because of all of that, I titled this episode Sustained in Singleness, a change in title. And the change in this one single word has totally transformed my perspective and delivering. Presenting myself as satisfied and being pleased and content is such, it just seems so much more based on my efforts versus being sustained, which illustrates being maintained or supported by something else other than myself without interruption or weakening. Clearly, through this illustration, it illustrates my reliance on Him. So, with all that being said, Father, I stand corrected. Okay, so there are so many ways in which we may find ourselves in this space called singleness, be it through not even entertaining a relationship, to walking away from a relationship, to divorce, or due to becoming a widow, uh, of where I find myself today. And that is certainly still tough for me to say. So I preface this episode with two things. First, this is certainly a space of opinion, an opinion deeply rooted in my experiences because of this solo podcast dynamic, but it certainly does not have to be. I encourage, I embrace, and I welcome thoughts, comments, and feedback, all of which you can feel free to drop below. Second, if you are classified as anything other than single, I promise you there is value here. And above all, may our God continue to bless your union with his presence and grace for the ability to do so, to be in a relationship and to do it well with longevity in a world of instant gratification and all of the challenges. It's truly a gift from God. So, where do we start this conversation? Like, okay, how do we figure this out? So, I found myself being engaged in multiple conversations where relationship status has been the topic. From individual, intimate, and yes, at times uncomfortable conversations in which people want to know, after losing my husband, like, how will I know I'm ready? Two, loaded conversations amongst single and married friends, either replaying how they arrived or seeking the roadmap of how to even get there. And so, being single, married, or in a relationship does not come without challenge. And as a single person in a world where control, on time, my time, independence, indulgence, ticking calendars, and deadlines exist, and where speed dating is a thing, desires speak, and visual stimulation often reigns, like just simply sustaining is the goal, as seeking satisfaction, and I hear you, God, will set you up. So, is it easy? No. Do I even want to do it? Honestly, if I'm to be honest with you, no. Do I have desires? I certainly do. Do I desire the companionship of a man and all that comes with it? Absolutely. Exclamation mark. Emphasis added. And understanding all of this, living all of this, and admitting all of this, and existing in and yielding the noise of the world to what he calls while believing in his word and divine plan, I realize that has got to be what dying to self daily looks like. And so it's what choice looks like. And above all else on this earth, God saw fit to give us choice. And it is in choice that allows us to rise above instinct. So, consequently, from the beginning of time in which roles were clearly defined, we've had to decide door number one, temporal worldly wisdom that's pleasing to the eye, or door number two, eternal wisdom as laid out by the divine, promising the breath of life. God's divine wisdom does not cosign, coincide, or ride with worldly wisdom or man's pride. A choice must be made. You decide. Knowledge over life, often the apple of our eye. Man, if I could just ask one question, it would surely be, Eve, why? Be cautious of the serpent, girl. Worldly wisdom operating under the auspice of an ego-fed pride. A choice must be made. Again, you decide. The deadly expansion of a puffed up chest fed with ego and pride. Breaths of a worldly narrative built on suffocating lies. From being the apple of his eye to gathering fig leaves and our shameful attempts to hide. It's because of this we have failed to trust his design. Failed attempts to make things happen in our own time. Walking past the tree of life, pulling on knowledge, leaning on our own understanding and minds. Fooled yet again, thinking we are ahead, when like the Israelites, we continue to wander and are so far behind. God's design of falling peacefully, eternally, in line with a plan that is so divine. A choice still must be made. When will you decide? In the midst of your storm, peace be still. Speak it as if Jesus did in Mark 4:39. Ecclesiastes 3:1, as written by King Solomon, it's all in his time. He has amazing plans for you, declares the Lord, in Jeremiah verse 11 of chapter 29. So at the end of the day, our choice comes with the responsibility and the accountability of what it is we decide. Choice is something that God never denies, but with choice comes self-imposed consequences that must be faced on the other side. But no matter what we decide, I thank God for choice and the ability in all of my mess, because it is by his grace and his mercy we continue to be the apple of his eye. This lyric delivers me here. Knowing all of this, I choose to rest in and be sustained by understanding Proverbs 18:22. And I will share it with you from the MEV. Whoever finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. This verse tells me as a woman exactly what I am to do in this season of my life. In its brevity, it tells me that it is not my job to go out and find a man. My only job, as employed by the Lord, is to seek and pursue him and become a good thing. And just like any good thing created by God, it is in doing this I shall bear the fragrance of life, an aroma that carries a redemptive, restorative, and relational sweetness that a helper is called to do. Exuding this irresistible aroma will draw he who God has for me. It is for my obedience and his success in finding me, I become the helper I was created to be, as called in Genesis 2:18. And in return for all of this, he who finds me will gain favor. For me, it's just that simple. Now, we all know simple certainly does not mean easy, but I have lived it and I believe it as God has let me see too much not to know and believe how this thing works. It is through this that I can proudly say I am sustained in my singleness. So, as I close with this. Please know, if you are in a relationship or are committed to celibacy, there is absolutely no judgment on how you arrived. This is simply my journey and what sustains me in this space. It's a daily fight, y'all, a constant battle. And I share certainly not from a place of what you should or should not do, but in an effort to promote a sisterhood of peace, hope, and balance in this space called singleness. Now, wisdom calls, and we must answer, either to her guidance or in facing the consequences of ignoring her. That's it for now, and it brings us to the end of this episode. I sincerely hope each word was of benefit to you and transcends through you as you impact the world. And please remember, everyone has been blessed with a gift. Don't you leave this world without giving it away. Thanks so much for joining me in this episode of Charism Life. If you enjoyed the show, like and subscribe, and I look forward to being with you again next week. Until then, this is Christy Payne-Jones. Much love to you always.